Hello, everyone. Good evening. We'll wait for 2 more minutes and let's see if someone is joining.
Hello,
And we'll
ma'am.
start after 2 minutes. Hi, good evening. Meanwhile, can you all, share your location and then your graduation? Good. We have MSc Bioinformatics, MSc Bioinformatics. We have Divya from Tamil Nadu. We have MSc Clinical Research also. Yeah, okay. We have people from Hyderabad, Sonali from Bangalore. Good, Rutuja B Pharmacy, MSc Microbiology, Apuva, nice. PharmD. Okay, we have a research intern, Abhishek. Okay. Okay, we have a clinical engineering diploma, PharmD, bioinformatics. Good. So we have different, graduations, different set of highest degrees that have joined in the webinar today. Good to see you all. I guess we're good to start now. So let me quickly introduce myself. I am Harshita. I reside in US, and I have almost 12 years experience in clinical research industry, and I have 4 years experience as a trainer. So I'll be leading the CDM, CDM batch post this webinar. I worked in multiple organizations like sponsors and CROs like GSK, IQVIA, ICON, CBCC. I also worked with Indian government project, that's an ICMR project. So I have a bunch of experience in clinical research domain. So today I'll take you through clinical research and data management. So if you're not able to see my screen in between, please let me know. I'll change the pattern. So today I'll take you through clinical research and data management. So clinical research and data management. So in clinical research, we have different stages. I think you don't see the screen. Yeah. So in clinical research, we have different stages. So let's talk about drug development stages first. So how the drug is developed. So we have different stages in the drug development. First is research and development, which we call as discovery and development. Then we have preclinical research, then clinical research, then FDA, Food and Drug Administration review, then FDA post-marketing safety monitoring. So any life science graduate who are graduated in chemistry or was graduated in biotechnology or microbiology or a PharmD or a B pharmacy or anyone from the public health or anyone who has done clinical engineering should fall under this drug development stages only. So, see, for example, if you see if a PharmD graduate or if an MSc microbiology graduate has completed their PhD, they're trying to do their PhD and then they are in the discovery and development process because they're trying to find out a sort of lead molecule for the targeted disease that they're looking into. So anyone who has done PhD or the scientist will fall into discovery and development mode. And preclinical research is all about animal research. So, for example, if I got 10,000 compounds in my discovery and development, so I'm moving ahead with the minimal compounds which are having positive responses to my disease. I'll go to the preclinical research. So preclinical research is all about your conducting a research on animals. Animals here are your mice, rabbit, monkeys, depending on the chromosomal match. So when I'm doing an animal clinical trials are nothing but my preclinical trials. I need to get animal ethics approval. And for discovery and development, in case if I found any new molecule, I should try to get a patent. So preclinical research, anyone from microbiology or anyone from other department like pharmacy can still be part of animal researchers. There are different, organizations who just do preclinical research. So you can get placed in those preclinical research as well. So from any life science background you are into, now we have seen two stages where you can fall into. And then we have the interesting part called clinical research. So in the entire drug development stage, see, the main motto of our drug is to release the drug into the market. If I found out a drug called drug A, I cannot directly release the drug A into the market and ask everyone to use it. When there was COVID, when there was pandemic in all countries, they didn't release the vaccines directly into the market. They have conducted clinical trial. So even the vaccines that are released, Moderna vaccine, Pfizer vaccine, Covishield vaccine, whatever vaccines that are available in the market, they have undergone these steps. The vaccine has undergone research and development step, and it has gone preclinical research and then clinical research. So why clinical research is interesting, I mentioned, because you are conducting, you are checking your molecule on human participants. In preclinical, it was animal. In research and development, it was you're doing it in your laboratory. Coming to clinical research, you are doing your molecule responses, how your molecule is nothing but your drug, how your drug is responding, the pharmacokinetic pharmacodynamic properties of your drug on human participants, on human subjects. So it's literally conducting a clinical trial, conducting a sort of a trial and error trial on the human subjects. So again, there are different phases in conducting this clinical research. You will learn in depth once you join the course. And then we have FDA review. So once the clinical research, we got the data, if the phase 4 is completed, then the data is reviewed by Food and Drug Administration, and they will approve this data and they will release the drug into the market. So if you take any designation that you have mentioned in the chat box, you should fall into this. And being part of clinical research departments, you will make sure that a research who had done, a PhD people who has completed their research, you are going to look into the progression of that molecule. So you have not, discovered anything new, but the one who discovered, you are trying to see whether the discovered compound is working or not. So if you're part of clinical research, if you're part of clinical data management, you are having an access to view the data, the very highest quality data of a particular clinical trial. It's interesting, right? So without completing all these PhDs, you are still part of their, a research, and then you are still part of drug development stages. So clinical research is nowhere a deviation from your background at all. Your knowledge, whatever you learned, will be implemented in one or other way in the clinical research industry. So next we'll see the drug development process as we discussed. Initial one is drug discovery, and you have preclinical trials, and you have clinical trials, and we have post-marketing surveillance. So post-marketing surveillance is nothing but marketing the product. See, if I sell Ebola drug, if I sell Ebola drug in India, it's not going to make any sense because there is no Ebola disease in India. So I don't have market for an Ebola drug in India. So if I go and sell a coconut oil, if I say this helps you to increase your hair growth, if I go and sell this product in Kerala, sorry for the background noise. In case if I sell such product in Kerala, that's not going to make sense. People don't have any shortage of hair in Kerala. So post-marketing studies will help us to know the market value of the particular clinical drug and the indication in that area. So all these 4 stages, again, they should follow a sort of guidelines. So drug discovery, because as per our discussion, we are going to find out the molecule. So you will have good manufacturing practice. So any drug discovery company has to, what is that? Yeah. So drug discovery has to follow good manufacturing practices and preclinical trial. Why manufacturing practices? Because you're manufacturing drug, right? So you need to follow manufacturing practices, whoever is from drug discovery. And preclinical studies, they should have good laboratory practices because they are conducting clinical trials on animals. It's an animal clinical trial. So they should follow good laboratory practice. And we have clinical trials, which is an interesting part in the entire drug development process, and they need to follow good clinical practice. So once you join this course, you will be learning about good clinical practices as well, which is very important. I can say it's a Bhagavad Gita, it's a Bible, it's Quran. For without knowing good clinical practice, you cannot be part of any clinical study. So as discussed, there are different phases again. And in post-marketing surveillance studies, you need to follow good pharmacovigilance practices. And under this, these are the processes that they usually follow in drug discovery. They need a target. They have to validate the target. So target would be your disease area. For example, cancer. Lead identification and lead optimization, meaning like you're trying to see the compound and how it's working on your targeted therapeutic indication. And in preclinical, you have animal subject trials, and you can conduct in laboratory, and you'll have toxicology test. You need to see whether what dosage is safe, right? So you have to conclude a dosage, and then pharmacological test. In clinical trials, you have different phases. In PMC, post-marketing surveillance, you have to market the drug, you have to conduct pharmacovigilance, you need to see unexpected adverse events and adverse drug reactions. So post-marketing surveillance would require marketed product. So IND approval stands for investigational new drug, and NDA stands for new drug application approval. So only in case if in the drug discovery, if they have found out a new molecule, then you would need IND and also NDA approvals. Usually, we also conduct clinical trials for the drugs which are already available in the market to see any other properties or any other characteristics of that particular drug. Then we have 4 whys: what, why, when, and where. So what is a clinical research? It's a systematic investigation in human subjects for evaluating the safety and efficacy of a new drug. So you are going to see the safety and efficacy of the drug. Why do we need clinical trials? To prove the safety and efficacy of data of a drug in human beings. So we need to prove that the drug is safe on human participants, not only on the preclinical research, but the drug is also safe on human participants. When do we need clinical trials? So you have seen that there was a pandemic called COVID-19, and everyone are waiting for a vaccine. This clinical research, having drugs and having diseases is a never-ending process. You will have diseases, new diseases coming, and diseases are already existed. So you have to find out drugs related to those diseases, and medical devices are also important. So all your MRIs or any sort of medical device, if there is a new medical device. So I came across a robot, who's doing surgeries. So a robot which is helping in the surgery, in the major clinical surgeries, which are normal, not in the drug development stages. In general, to conduct surgeries, people and doctors, surgeons are using robots as well. Now, robots is a medical device. And coming back to the recent clinical trial which Elon Musk is conducting, it's a Neuralink trial, right? So I think yesterday they had a breakthrough, like the robot is able to control a mouse, just by his thoughts. So that's a Neuralink study. You can go ahead and then do your Google search about Elon Musk clinical trial on Neuralink. So yeah, enrollment is still happening. And where do we conduct clinical trials? At site, at hospitals. Then let's see the definition of a clinical trial. It's an experiment designed to answer specific questions about possible new treatments or new ways of using existing or new treatments. Clinical trials are done to determine whether new drugs or treatments are safe and effective. Clinical trials is the only way researchers which determines if the new treatment works in humans, and that cannot be learned in the laboratory or animals. Just because if a drug is been completed their preclinical research, we cannot sell that drug in the market yet. The drug has to undergo clinical trials who involves human participants, and then it has to be released into the market. So as discussed, we have 4 different stages in clinical research: phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then let's discuss the main stakeholders in the clinical trials. So sponsor is a pharma company who owns the investigational product, nothing but your drug. And if I found out a drug, if I'm conducting a clinical trial for my own, then it will not have a good results. For example, if I made a pancake on my own, and if I'm giving it to my set of people and then asking how does it taste, then that's not a quality data, right? If I make a pancake and if I'm trying to sell it out, if I'm giving it to unknown person, then I'll get the good result or good output, good feedback for my particular pancake or aloo paratha that I have made. So sponsor, it is their own drug, so they should not conduct a clinical trial. They can conduct preclinical research, but they should not conduct a clinical trial. So they will give out this project, this protocol, or this study to the contract research organizations, where they will conduct a clinical trial on behalf of sponsor. So you will not have a bias. So if I am doing research on my own product, and if I am trying to release it, it will not have a quality data because I will be biased. So as discussed, we will be conducting this clinical research at study site, that's your hospital. So whenever we're conducting at hospital, we need a physician. So physicians are investigator. We call them as principal investigator in the clinical trials. So there are clinical research terminologies, like, you don't use the day-to-day terminologies in the clinical research, and they are the main stakeholder. Study subject, our patient, whoever we are giving the drug is our study subject. They are the stakeholder again. Investigator is a physician, meaning like doctor. And each study site should have an ethics committee. And each country will have a regulatory authority. So regulatory body for India, it is DCGI. Regulatory body for United States, it's United States of Food and Drug Administration, US FDA. So if you're conducting a clinical trial in a country, the regulatory body or the regulatory authority has to approve. Only then you can conduct that clinical trial. To conduct a clinical trial at hospital, at study site, your ethics committee has to approve. So these are the different phases of clinical trial. And if you see, each phase is having different sort of population in their enrollment. So you have 20 to 50 in phase 1, you have 150 to 350 in phase 2, and we have 250 to 4,000 in phase 3. And in phase 4, it's an open trial, like we'll be giving to somewhere around 10,000 to 50,000 people. So what are these phase trials, and then how these are conducted, what is the complete involvement in it, you will be learning in the further classes. So when you're using a drug, when you're using a molecule, we don't know about the side effects. So these side effects of the drug molecule are called as adverse events. So if you remember, during when you have taken Covishield or Covaxin during post the pandemic, so I think they have asked you to stay for 30 minutes in the same area as well, because they want to observe. Within the 30 minutes, if there is any side effect, it will be prompted. That's what they came to a conclusion after conducting a clinical trial. So those safety aspects, obviously, we are going to study in the clinical trial. Let me give you an example of a drug. If you have heard about Viagra, it's used in erectile dysfunction right now. So a Viagra is a drug which is used for erectile dysfunction. But when a clinical trial was conducted on a Viagra, the initial primary objective of a Viagra trial is to treat cardiovascular disease. Okay, Viagra is not meant for erectile dysfunction. The study was conducted to see the improvement in the cardiovascular diseases. But when they are conducting the clinical trial, they have seen this side effect called erectile ejection in most of the male participants. And they came to a conclusion like, okay, this drug is more useful in the erectile dysfunction than cardiovascular. So they changed the primary objective of the clinical trial, and the drug, they have planned to conduct a clinical trial for one sort of target, and they have finalized that this drug has more properties to another disease area. So they have shifted the drug from cardiovascular to the erectile dysfunction. You can go ahead and post this class, you can Google check into that clinical trial. So compliance is important, regulatory bodies and regulations are important. So DCGI, Drug Control General of India, is regulatory body for India, and Japan has Ministry of Health, MHLW, and Canada has Health Canada. USA is Food and Drug Administration. So to conduct a clinical trial in these countries, the Health Canada has to approve your study. Only then you can conduct a clinical trial. Another example, Covishield is not used in USA because they have ruled out, they have rejected the drug usage in India. Sorry, in USA. But still India is using Covishield, right? And there are many drugs which are available in USA that are not, applicable or approved in India. So each country has their own, set of import and export criteria to have a drug in their country. And let us see what is data. So you see, I am saying that there are many people, so there's so much of data involved. Data is nothing but the amount of information. Data is units of information. So you are getting the data from your research and development also. You're having data in preclinical trials as well, and data is available in the clinical research as well. So whatever is happening at site or hospital, it has to be recorded. It has to be seen. Only then you can finalize your clinical study reports. If you don't have the data, if you don't have the results, so how will you come to a conclusion that the drug is good to release? So the data is very important in clinical trials. Data plays a very, very crucial role. We'll also say if the data is not recorded, like if the data is not recorded, then it is not done. Anything in verbal communications will not work out in clinical research. So this data is collected. Data, we're calling it as a set of values of qualitative or quantitative variables about one or more persons or one or more subjects that are involved in a clinical trial. That's your data. And clinical data management is a department which handles the entire set of data. So assume I have also shown you that there are different phases of clinical trial. So in each phase, we are going to collect the data. So in each phase, we are going to collect the data. So again, data means there will be different visits at site. So if you go to any hospital, doctor will ask you what are your, what are your symptoms for let's take an example of throat infection. So what are your symptoms? Did you had anything previously? Oh, okay, you had a cold, ice water. So okay, because of ice water, you have got this throat infection. Post to that, did you get any fever? Do you have cold? All these are your medical history for an indication called throat infection. So in normally when during an OPD sessions, when they are asking for this information, so imagine in clinical research, how much data is available. Usually for a clinical research, for a drug to be released into the market, you need 15 years. And for a clinical trial to be completed, you need 2 to 6 years. So 6 years ka everyday data is captured into a system. So let me take a social media right now. So most of all of you an Instagram account, and all of you will be having a Facebook account. So you will be having the data, whatever you are posting that's available in the social media, right? So if you have posted something in 2009, so it will be still available. So that data, that's a memory that you had in the social media that you have posted. Likewise, in clinical research, we should capture and we should have all the data of this clinical trial that has happened in the different phases. So as we have 4 different phases, there will be so much of data collection involved in a clinical trial. So this data management plays an essential role in the data collection. So CDM is a critical process in clinical research which leads to generation of high quality, reliable, and statistically sound data from clinical trials. So clinical data management is an indispensable part of clinical research. So when I'm saying data is important, so here data is not numerical, okay? It is also written in a descriptive way. If a subject is experiencing a migraine headache after taking a drug in a clinical trial, then I'm trying to find out the root cause of this, when the migraine has started, what product in my, in what product or what composition in the drug would have caused this migraine headache. Everything will be recorded. Recording meaning saved in this EDC system. EDC is nothing but your electronic data capture system. We are trying to have this data available so that your sponsor, your CROs view the data. So the best known form of clinical data is electronic health record, nothing but your electronic case report forms or electronic data capture. So this includes general information, your verbal information, and then your numeric information. If I'm doing a sugar test, if I'm doing a CBC, if I'm doing HbA1c test, so what are the reports that has to be recorded as well in the clinical data? So assume you being in the data management department, you are going to have access to this entire data of this particular drug. So you are going to be part of this entire drug development stage, and you are going to learn what is happening with this particular drug, and you are going to find mistakes in this data. Okay, and you're going to say them, please correct it. The data is not up to the mark. You need to correct the data. Who will do this? The one who is part of clinical data management, going to view the data and then comment on the data and get the data clarifications. So clinical data management is a critical process in clinical research which leads to the generation of high quality data. The field CDM has come about due to demands from both pharmaceutical industry and also regulatory authority as the drive to fast track the development of pharmaceutical product continues. So data management will help you to have a clean data. When you have a clean data, meaning like you have the pros and cons of the drug, and then you can write your clinical study report, and then it's a faster process, and you can release your molecule into the market. Why data management is required? I think you know the better answer than me now. So you have to provide a quality data which is reliable and reproducible, because a drug and human trials are not a simple task. We are not using humans as a guinea pigs here. There is so much of management, regulatory, ethics committee involvement to have the clinical trial to be conducted in a safer way. Today, you'll be learning only the outline of the data management to know what data management does. We actually, in BCRI, we have also acquired an EDC system. So we are giving you the practical knowledge, not only theoretical knowledge. There is a practical session. We will provide you access for this electronic data capture system, and you will see for a clinical trial how there is a demo clinical trial. You will see how the data is captured, and you will see the dots, how to connect the dots in a clinical trial from data management perspective. So trust me, none of them have acquired, an ADC system before. It's very costly. An electronic data capture system will cost you in crores, because it stores a huge amount of data, right? So we purchased it. So we will give you a practical learning how to analyze the data, how to validate the data, how to pull reports, and then look into the important findings in the clinical trial. You will be learning that in this certification program. So data life cycle. So once you create the data, you will process, you will review and report the data, and you will archive the data, and you will destruct the data. And each process, these are all your day-to-day activities once you join the CDM department. So clinical data management is a department in CROs and also sponsor. You will be getting jobs like clinical data management coordinator, clinical data management analyst, and senior clinical data management, clinical data management associate. And there are n number of openings because there are more and more companies available, and disease and clinical research is never going to stop. It's not like software industry, where if there is an artificial intelligence, then everything will be out. There will be a department which will be ruled out. No, clinical research is not like that. We have AI has been used, but human manual review is required, because it has something to do with human participants. We have human subjects. So CDM is closely associated with clinical trial project management team, and these are the other internal teams that are involved and that are working with CDM to collect the data. So you'll have trial setup team, data programming team, medical coding team. There will be central laboratory vendors. There will be medical writers. There will be event adjunction team, external vendors. All these people has to work together with the CDM team, and then work out how the data has to be cleaned. And only then, if CDM is not approving the data, then it will not be released. So CDM is the main person and the main department who will be leading, reviewing, and finalizing the data of a clinical trial. So our objectives, again, collection, integration, and validation. You'll collect the data, you'll integrate the data that you have received to see any discrepancies, and then you will validate the data. And what are the different steps involved? You will be learning further in the classes. So these are the list of sponsors. We have seen the stakeholders, right? These are the list of sponsors available right now. I just listed a few, and there are still many sponsors. And each sponsor is having clinical data management departments in them. And not only sponsor, these are the list of CROs. All CROs, it is mandatory to have clinical data management department in them. So today I've just shown you the basics of clinical research and the basics of data management. Trust me, there is a lot to learn. Okay, and if you find any why this good clinical practice and clinical research is important, you can look into an experiment called Russian sleep experiment in YouTube. There, like Russia has conducted an odd clinical trial without a good clinical practice. So you can search that as Russian sleep experiment in YouTube, and then you can find out the video, and you can look into it. If you see that they have taken 4 prisoners and they have released a gas. Usually when there are wars, they don't want their soldiers to sleep. Okay, so war is nothing but you're fighting for a longer time and then you need rest, right? So what Russia has made, they don't want their army people to feel restless. So they tried a gas. If you're not sleeping, then you'll feel restless, right? So they have found out a gas, okay, a gas. So consider this is in the R&D process. So they found out this gas, and without undergoing any other steps, like they have not conducted, preclinical trials, no clinical trials. So they've directly given this to the 4 prisoners. They told that these prisoners have sentenced to death. So they said, we'll release you if you're part of this 24 days trial. So wherein we are using a gas, so you will not be sleeping. You will have sleep. Yeah, thalidomide is also that sort of experiment. Yes, and during Nazi experiments as well, Nazi has also conducted all sort of cruel experiments. All those are without following a good clinical practice, without having a data management department, without having a clinical trial management department. They don't have a sponsor, they don't have a CRO. They just conducted a clinical trial randomly. So in this Russian sleep, they have given this gas. They are locked into a room, and then every day they are releasing this gas into the room. So what happened after a week? They started acting like reptiles. They fought with each other. They have removed other people's organs, and then they fight. They literally become zombies and reptiles. And when they're out, all 3 people dead. Only one person was alive. When the scientist who was watching them every day has took that person out, he's asking to give more pain. So they're trying to do a surgery to him because his intestines were out. When they're doing surgery, that person is asking for more pain. Anesthesia is not working on them because of the gas that they have used. And post to this, even scientist was dead. Scientist has attempted a suicide. So this is just a story of a Russian sleep experiment. It's up to you. You can view it and then understand how important is clinical research. If no clinical research is not there, such experiments would be still conducted. So we are done with the presentation for today.